Well, in this video is Moron reviews. I'm reviewing The Fragile Mind by Jarek Conrad. The fragile mind, how it has produced and unwittingly perpetuates America's tragic disparities. This book I highly recommend to those of you that are social justice warriors, because it might wake you up and you won't sound like such, well, jerks, like mean-spirited, hateful, sexist, racist jerks. Because you guys are trying to accuse us of being racist and sexist, but it's you guys that are coming across as racist and sexist and hateful. There's certain terms that you use are loaded terms that really just nobody wants to listen to you, because you just sound like you just hate everybody that's not like you. You're not really doing. Actually, you come across as this guy right here. This book I recommend you read too. I recommend you read this book. And I think you know about this guy here, Rules for Radicals by Saul Alinsky. Some of you guys seem to actually get a lot of your information from this guy. But please read this book. It's very good. I'm not going to open it. Well, okay, I just did. But you know what I mean. I'm not going to actually give you everything that's in it. But it's a very good book. It gives you nice statistics about what really goes on in this country. It's a very well written book. Gives you a lot of stats, on how to solve some of our problems in this country. And that's why I'm also going to put this under my presidential heading, is because, if I were president, I would definitely feel that, I don't care what white or black, you need to learn about other cultures. Okay, you do. There's just no ands, ifs, or buts about that. And the stupidest thing that these politicians do, and I agree, is they're idiots. They cut money to the poor schools because they're doing poorly. I mean, how stupid is that? You obviously want to give them better teachers, better funding, and have, there's a lot of things you can do. You got to educate these kids. You got to realize it's not all their parents' fault, because their parents can't help the way they are because they grew up in the same situation as their children are growing up with. You just got to, through the school system, you're going to have to educate them. Unfortunately, some people are not going to like that because you're spending tax money. Who gives a crap? I'd rather spend money educating these people on nutrition, on behavior, on parenting, and that type of stuff than locking up in prison and spending thousands and millions of dollars on them. And all this white guilt crap that a lot of people, nobody has the right to feel guilty about what they have not done. Less than 5% of the white population had anything to do with slavery. So just shut the hell up about that. And I agree with what this guy says. He doesn't mention it much in this particular book about the predatory elite. And you social justice warriors, you are helping the predatory elite. You really are, because you're helping divide us. You are dividing men and women, black versus white. You're doing all this stuff. And some of y'all do come across extremely hateful. You have the Black Lives Matter, and I agree with a lot of I agree with them when it comes to police brutality and all this stuff. We need more education for the police, and there's, we do need this stuff, and they need to be held accountable. It's just the way they do it. They can come across as racist, and then they block streets, and and they, some of the actions they do, and most of what all these you guys are doing is coming from this book, Rules for Radicals by Saul Alinsky, which I will tell you is a good book to read. It's pretty good. And also a lot of stuff you are doing comes from this guy here. Extremely hateful little bastard. But you guys seem to have a lot in common with him. I hate to say it, but if you're a social justice warrior, you do. But please read this book. Read books like this. And anyone should read a book like this. This is a very good book. By a very well educated, very intelligent person. And of course, I would say read Thomas Paine, Common Sense, Rights of Man, and his other books. You can get this one here, It's actually a very good book. And there are many others, like the Federalist Papers you can read and all this stuff. You should always read and educate yourself. That's something everybody should do. And of course, get books like this, learn logic, and of course, book like this. You want to sound more educated, because, a lot of things I hear from social justice warriors really what they, some of their, what you guys want to say, some of what they say isn't so bad if they were not so divisive. I know that's just because they get that because, you know, Obama is probably the most divisive president we've ever had. And Reagan, you know, read this book, he'll tell you about Reagan. And it's not anything that I didn't already know about that guy. But he wasn't all that great. I know he doesn't mention in this book, but I know in the 50s and 60s, I believe it was. I don't know which decade. But he was pretty good. He was not a good actor. But he was pretty good at turning in his fellow actors as being communists. Because back then, it was opposite of today. Still had these, you know, social justice warrior types, but they were, you know, opposite of today. They were just basically, you had to be conservative, basically, and agree, you know, America's the best country in the world and all that stuff. That's the problem. It's always divisive. I already made a lot of videos about this, and I'm going to make other videos about social justice warriors. But, you know, not too many more. Maybe one or two more, maybe. I don't know how many more. But you guys are helping the predatory elite. The people that have the money, they want to keep their money. And as long as we keep fighting, and we can't get money for ourselves. And some of us come from and this is why people don't like the term white privilege. You got a lot of poor white people. You don't tell them, well, you're privileged. How the hell do you think they're going to feel when you say something stupid like that? Now, if you tell them, and as is written in this book, you know, about how you can easily show them through logic, especially if you read these type of books, how African Americans are more likely to be pulled over by the police, even if they don't do anything wrong. They're less likely to get into certain jobs and things like that, simply for being black. And it is true. I know a lot of you white people do not like to hear it, but it is true. And read this book. He'll explain why you do not want to, some of you don't want to accept it. It's a very good book. And it's not nobody. It isn't because racist people are bad. It isn't because non-racists are bad. It's not because if you don't see what's going on in front of you, you're bad. No, it just sometimes a lack of education. None of us know everything, and we need to read books and learn, and just learn and talk to each other and stop trying to be so divisive. So feel free. You know, these are excellent books. Even this is a good book if you haven't read it. This is a good book. You're going to see how... I mean, if you don't like Hitler, which hopefully you don't like him, if you really don't like him, when you read this book, you're going to hate this bastard. But you also, if you're a social justice warrior, you're going to see some of the things that you do. But seriously, though, I would highly recommend this book. Even whether you're a social justice warrior or not, this is a very good book. It'll open your eyes to a lot of things. You know, a lot of similar books like this. And also, whether you're a social justice warrior or not, leave comments in my comment section of any books that you feel are good books that I could read. Because I love reading and I love learning. Now, I'm not right about everything. You're not right about everything. And I would gladly read those books. Thanks. Feel free to like, subscribe, watch any of my other videos. I'm going to let this run for maybe a couple minutes, just in case I think of anything else to say. But as I said, if I was president, I would implement many of the things he says in his book.